Hey, welcome back to Nights and Weekends with me, your host, Marcus, here on Nights and Weekends. Again, it's called that because that's when I have a chance to work on it. Just for anybody out in the audience, again. All right. So today, as you can see from the thumbnail, I have a good old Joy Reid on there. She's definitely part of the problem. But the um, the beginning of the show is essentially we're going to go over like three very short things. One, the reason why the media is the problem, and then we're going to give some quick examples. Okay. So the reason I say that the media is the problem is that they're so ideologically captured by the left that the information that they give you, they try to give it to you as if they're giving it straight down the middle, which isn't true. Everybody has a bias. I have a bias. I have a certain way that I frame things that gives me a perspective on how the world should be. But they never do that. So, as we can see here, just to start, journalists dole out cash to politicians quietly. Now, this article is from 2007. They looked at the donations of 140 journalists. It mostly went to Democrats, and if you were to scroll down further in the article, they never informed their viewers, listeners, or anything like that. They never informed them. So again, these are people who are giving you your news. They have a certain ideological bent to them, and they never disclose that. They try to make it seem as if they're just straight down the middle, which isn't true. So we can go and look at this. Now, it says only about 7% of journalists self-identify as Republican. Now, if you look on here, it's gone down from the um, party affiliation back in 71. About 36% of them were Democrat, 26% of them were Republican. Now it's 28% Democrat and 7.1% Republican. Now, I bet somebody's going to try to pick up an audience and say, oh, well, over 50% of them are independents. And no, they mostly side with the Democrats. Okay. Mostly side with the freaking Democrats. And again, even in my own personal life, whenever I hear somebody say, oh, I'm independent, and then you ask them who they voted for, it's a whole long list of folks on the left. So you can try to want to say that, but your voting record says differently. Okay. So we can look at this. This is something else that's actually kind of funny. 97% of people who donate who are journalists, it goes to the Democrats. 97%. And this is true. Let's scroll down here. Now, unfortunately, this is on the side with my head. My head's big enough. Okay. But it is true. Okay. 96% of the donations from journalists in 2016, I'm sorry, in 2015 and 2016 went to Clinton. But you're going to tell me that you're right down the line and that, um, it isn't a liberal bias. Are you kidding me? Okay. Now, I got to throw this one in. This is an extra one. So I heard this real time. I remember listening to it real time. And I said, wow, this is the softball of softball interviews I've ever heard in my entire life. This was in defense of looting on NPR. They actually interviewed this woman. And when I said that, I mean, they could have put this interview on a T-ball and just had the author just swinging the bat. And this is why a little bit after this came out, they actually had to go back and um, update the story, because if you read this, let's scroll up. It says this story was updated on September 1st, 2020. The original version of the story, which is an interview with an author who holds strong political views and ideas, did not provide readers enough context for them to fully assess some of the controversial opinions discussed. Let me decode this part right here. did not provide readers enough context for them to fully assess some of the controversial opinions discussed. It means she agreed or gave no pushback and just moved on. Okay? It's like, why the hell are we writing this in this BS? Just say that the person who did the interview failed at doing the freaking interview. And again, this is NPR. The first example is good old Donald J. Trump.
Culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
There's no question about it, and Aaron Blake does it in the Washington Post today. We have a piece on the Bulwark that walks through what the president said, and he specifically talks about that rally on Friday night where the guys were marching with the tiki torches and saying Jews will not replace us. And this is what he's referring to as the peaceful demonstration with all kinds of good people. There is no way to whitewash this.
So, as we saw with the both sides, stuff like that, if you look at how it was covered, if you actually listen to what he said that he was not talking about the white supremacists or neo-Nazis or white nationalists. They should be condemned totally. Then you see the man on MSNBC a little bit after that saying, no, he was talking about those people. No, he wasn't. Okay. Now we can move on to another little situation that happened a little bit like right after he got in office. The first thing I remember is the journalists talking about how Donald Trump had removed Martin Luther King's bust from the Oval Office. Okay. So we can go on ahead and read this really quick. Time White House correspondent Zeke Miller incorrectly reported that the bust of Martin Luther King Jr. had been removed from the Oval Office. Now, they said that he quickly issued a correction. The thing I would ask you is this. What the hell would make him think it was removed in the first place? What on earth would make him even look for it? So apparently it was behind some type of door or somebody was standing in front of it. But again, instead of trying to look and say, hold up, where is it? Nope, he removed it. And then let's click on this very next one. Just look at the language here. This is from CBS News Miami, and this is on CBSNews.com. Just look at the heading. Trump still salty over, quote, fake news, unquote, reports about MLK bus removal. I would be pretty pissed off too, because we are just going to jump right on into this. I haven't been in office more than 28 seconds, and y'all are already trying to paint me as being some type of racist. Again, this does not happen with folks. This does not happen with presidents or politicians on the left. They have to do something so egregious, and then it's begrudgingly going after them. You know? So no. Now, we can jump into our second example here. It's Rachel Maddow and others talking about the wage gap.
The economy. The women in this country still make 77 cents on the dollar for what men make. So if women don't make less than men?
Actually, if you start looking at the numbers, Rachel, there are lots of reasons for that.
Wait. No.
Well,
don't tell me the reasons are. Do women make less than men for doing the same work?
No, because...
Wow!
Well,
okay.
Well, for example, men work an average of 44 hours a week. Women work 41 hours a week.
So at the rate we're going, the pay gap could take decades, even longer, to close.
469 days. That's how many days it takes a woman to earn what a man would make in a year. 365 days. It's another way to think of the gender pay gap.
So, as we can see, Rachel Maddow went whole hog on saying, is there not a difference between what men and women are paid? You should want to hear the reasons why somebody isn't paid X, Y, and Z instead of just assuming that it's because of the person's sex or because of the person's race. So, absolutely love this. Now, if you ever want to go find this on the New York Times, okay, it's insane. If you actually look at it and you go straight to this graph, this is put out by the Women's Institute. The Institute of Women's Policy research using U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay. So as we can see here, Asian women are paid almost as much as white men. To me, this blows up their entire belief that it's simply because of people's sex. It's not because of their sex. It's because of the choices that men and women make in their day-to-day lives. Okay? So as we can see over here, black men still make more than black women. Again, we work more hours. We do different jobs. Same thing applies to Hispanic. Same thing applies to white men and white women. We have different jobs that we choose to do based on our own innate talents or whatever tickles our fancy. Okay? So you have these people who push this all the time on the news every single day. And again, I understand why these people just believe it, because I think it was Fox Mulder on the X-Files. He was talking about religion. People would much rather have it to where it's not something hard to think about. It's too much stuff going on in your everyday life already. Okay? I get it. So we can go and look at the actual truth when it comes to the wage gap between men and women. We choose to do different things. Okay? This was a study out of Harvard. They looked at the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority. It's a union shop. So you're paid on seniority. It's not a lot of wiggle room for people to for it to be a lot of bias. And they saw right here that even with all of that, there's still a difference. It's still a difference because men are more than willing to work overtime, work overnight shifts, take less time off, as we can see here. So at the end of the day, I think a lot of men, especially married men and men who have children, kind of believe what Kevin Samuels said, which is a man knows if he screws up, the park bench is for him. Okay? And a lot of us, we work as hard as we do because of our family, our wives, kids, our goals. We don't want to be poor when we're old, et cetera, et cetera. Again, it's a different world for women. And that's fine. I don't have an issue with it. This one caused me the most amount of heartburn. COVID. The way that the media covered COVID, in my opinion, if it isn't criminal, it should be. So I know that there's several people who I know watch my videos who never went to this page and looked at the deaths. It's fine. I'll just show it to you here. Okay. So we can look at what the media did when it comes to incidents of COVID.
A desperate plea from an Arkansas family with an infant currently hospitalized with COVID. That plea is to everybody, go get the vaccine.
I would not wish this stuff on like my worst enemy at all.
24-year-old COVID patient Patrick Bershia had been hospitalized just over a week when we first met him earlier this month.
We're still losing people to this virus, which is especially tragic given at this point it is unnecessary and preventable. Virtually all COVID-19 hospitalizations and deaths in the United States are now occurring among unvaccinated individuals.
The only conclusion one can reasonably come to from looking what I've told you over the last few minutes is please get vaccinated. It will protect you against the surging of the Delta variant.
So as we can see, they showed a video of a child, of a small baby who had to be put on a ventilator. I'm sorry, not put on a ventilator. The kid had to be given oxygen. Okay. And then they showed a 24-year-old man who, it doesn't say it in that story, but he actually died a little bit later of COVID. And they also wanted to push that, if you had just got the vaccine, and this is in early 2020, I'm sorry, this is like in mid to late 2021. They were talking about, oh, if you had just got the vaccine, blah, 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 blah. So let us look here, okay? Because I had sat down, I did up all the addition from this, so you don't have to add these all up. I added those all up for us. So this is the kind of stuff I was arguing around with people the entire time when it came to COVID. The mortality risk was so age stratified. And if you did not acknowledge this, it was hard for us to have a conversation for 2+ years. This goes for people at my job, people on the internet, people that I in my own house, people who I consider, friends, close acquaintances, all of it. So I added up all those numbers as you can see here from Statista. Let's look at this. This is from 2020 all the way to 2023. Okay, I believe that this one stops in June or July, or it's either halfway through 2023 or through the very end of 2023. Look at these deaths from COVID, okay? For these age ranges. Under 40, okay? Sorry, bro, I got to check my notes, okay? Can't remember every goddamn thing off my top of my head. Okay, so for the population that was under 40, that population is 156 million people, okay? 156 million people in this country are under the age of 40. 28,612 of them passed away. And I'm very sorry, okay? I lost a very close friend. I was there the day he passed. It's something something that really hurt and everything else. But he wasn't part of the age range I'm talking about. And also there were other things that went on with that made this person more susceptible. So that's not the average person of that person's age. Okay? So 156 million people in that age range. 28,612 of them died of COVID. If you look here, over half of the people who passed of COVID, unfortunately, happen to be our people 75 years and up. Let's just say 612,000. Now, I added up their population. They're about 24 million. So 24 million people in that age range ended up getting COVID and passing. About 612,000 people in that age range out of 24 million got it and they died. Of the people under the age of 40, the millennials, people like me, and the Gen Zers, people like my children, 156 million of them exist, and only 28,000 of them passed away from COVID. And if you look here, so by the end of 2022, about 78% of people had got it naturally. It's not necessarily including the vaccines. And if you look here, this is the one that really went home. Gen Z and millennials had the highest rates of antibodies from infection. So let's say by now, 90+% of people under the age of 40 got it through infection and have antibodies. 90%. So if we did the math on that, 90+% of those people, that's 140 million people actually caught it under the age of 40, and only 28,000 of them passed away from it. But the way that the media covered it, they made it seem as if everybody was susceptible to dying of it, and everybody was at the same risk. And that's just not true. Now, something else I found that kind of pissed me off is that by the end of 2022, over half of the people who passed of COVID had been vaccinated. Now, I've gone back and looked at a whole lot of videos from 2021. And even if you look here, in September of 2021, vaccinated people made up about, let's say, a quarter of the people who passed. But if you look at the Fauci's, God forbid, our president at the time, CNN, MSNBC, NPR, none of them stated that in 2021. Almost a quarter of the people who died of them had been vaccinated at that point, and the vaccine had just came out. And this is September of 2021. So the way that they frame stuff causes a lot of issues here. Okay? So that's it on COVID for now. COVID's going to come back up again later because it screwed everything up, and it is what it is. Whatever. So let us go to some of the major papers that are in this country, at least two of them. We can look at the New York Times. Sat down and I did the thing on that too. So this is crazy. 24 out of 28 elections since 1912. The New York Times has endorsed somebody on the left for president. The Washington Post has never, ever endorsed a person on the right for president. The LA Times used to, you see here, they used to. This was the last time that they endorsed a Republican for president. It was Tricky Dick, Richard Nixon. Which, by the way, I think he got like 30-something% of the black vote back then. But that's a side note. Anyway, these are the people who are not necessarily the thought leaders, but these are the people that the average person will turn to get their information and will believe that they're getting it mostly down the middle. And that's just not true. Okay. Now, at least for me, you know where it is I stand. And I think it would be better if overall, when it comes to our journalists, if they put on their MAGA hat, or if they were to put on the I'm with her sticker, or if they were to put on, Joe Biden, whatever, it would make us a little bit, at least people like me, it'd make me a little bit more at ease that, is this information, is it slightly skewed, a little bit skewed, or very skewed? That is that's the way I look at the media, and I can go all day on Joy Reid. She is, when it comes to her politics, the person I put on the thumbnail, she had the Moms for Liberty, the people who are trying to get some of the grossest books out of our schools, like the all boys aren't blue. It's unbelievable. If you actually watch the interview, I absolutely encourage you to go watch it. If you go watch it, she doesn't address anything that the person from Moms of Liberty really said about why we should not have these things in class. And then right after that, she had some friendlies on from MSNBC that were like, oh, the Moms of Liberty person didn't know what she was talking about. She couldn't even name the author. She knew that the person who wrote the book was writing a book about himself, where he talks about being raped, etc., by a family member. And Do you think that your kid should be reading this in the 3rd, 4th grade? Do you think that's appropriate? But the way that Joy Reid frames it is they're banning freaking the color purple, as if that is what they're really going after. What is they're really going after is all the smut that is that these teachers are trying to cram down your kid's throat. All right, but hey, that's it. The media is the problem. They have a leftist bent. They, as you can see from 2007, they don't share that with their readers and listeners. They frame everything from the leftist point of view. And that's why we have such a dang disconnect in this country. All right. Look, I'll see you on the week. Have a good day. Bye.